A Midsummer Night's Dream. Hermia and Lysander were in love. Hermia's father, however, wished her to marry another man, named Demetrius. Now, in Athens, where they lived, there was a cruel law. Any girl who refused to marry according to her father's wishes could be put to death. When Hermia refused to marry Demetrius, her father became very angry. He eventually brought her before the Duke of Athens, and asked for her to be killed if she still refused to obey him. The Duke gave her 4 days to think over the matter, and said that if she still refused to marry Demetrius by the end of the 4th day, she would have to die. Lysander, of course, was mad with grief, and he decided that the best thing for Hermia to do was to run away to his aunt's house. His aunt's house was beyond the reach of that wicked law, and there he could rejoin Hermia and marry her. But before she left, Hermia told her friend Helena what she was going to do. Helena had been Demetrius' sweetheart long before his marriage with Hermia had been arranged. Being very silly like all jealous people, Helena could not see that it was not poor Hermia's fault that Demetrius wished to marry her instead of his own lady, herself. She knew that if she told Demetrius that Hermia was running away to the wood outside Athens, he would follow her. But then I can follow him, and at least I'll be able to see him, Helena said to herself. So Helena went to Demetrius and told him about her friend's plans. Now this wood where Lysander was to meet Hermia, and where Helena and Demetrius followed them, was full of fairies. On this night in the wood were the king and queen of the fairies, Oberon and Titania. Fairies are very wise, but now and then they can be quite as foolish as mortals. Oberon and Titania, who had all the reasons to live happily, often threw away their joy in a foolish quarrel. They never met without saying cruel things to each other, and scolded each other so dreadfully that all the little fairy followers would creep into acorn cups and hide. So, instead of dancing all through the night in the moonlight as fairies should, the king wandered through one part of the wood with his attendants, while the queen with hers wandered through the other. The cause of all this trouble was a little Indian boy whom Titania had taken as one of her followers. Oberon wanted the boy to follow him and be one of his fairy knights, but the queen refused to give him up. On this particular night, in a mossy moonlit glade, the king and queen of the fairies met. "Here we meet again, proud Titania," said the king. "What, jealous Oberon?" answered the queen. "You spoil everything with your quarreling. Come, fairies, let us leave him. I am not friends with him anymore." "It is up to you to stop our quarrel," said the king. "Give me that little Indian boy, and I will be your humble servant and suitor once again." "Just give up now, will you?" said the queen. "Your whole fairy kingdom cannot buy that boy from me. Come, fairies." She and her fairy train rode off down the moonbeams. "You can leave," said Oberon, "but I'll get even with you before you leave this wood." Then Oberon called his favorite fairy, Puck, who was the spirit of mischief. He used to slip into the dairies and take the cream away, and turn the bear sore, and lead people out of their way on dark nights and then laugh at them. His favorite trick was to tumble people's stools from under them when they were about to sit down. "Now go and get me a flower called love and idleness," said Oberon to this little sprite. "The juice of that little purple flower, when put on the eyes of those who are asleep, will make them fall in love with the first thing they see when they wake up. I will put some of the juice of that flower on my Titania's eyes. When she wakes, she will fall in love with the first thing she sees. It could be anything: a lion, or bear, or wolf, or bull, or even a meddling monkey." While Puck was off on his errand, Demetrius passed through the glade followed by poor Helena. She told him how she loved him and reminded him of all his promises. But he still told her that he did not and could not love her, and that his promises did not mean anything. Oberon happened to overhear them, and immediately he felt sorry for poor Helena. So when Puck returned with the flower, the king told him to follow Demetrius, and put some of the juice on his eyes, so that he might love Helena when he woke and looked at her. So Puck set off, and wandering through the wood he found Lysander, not Demetrius, on whose eyes he put the juice. When Lysander woke, the first thing he saw was Helena, who was walking through the wood looking for the cruel Demetrius. He instantly fell in love with her and left Hermia, who had fallen asleep beside him, under the spell of the purple flower. When Hermia woke she found Lysander gone, and she wandered through the wood trying to find him. Puck went back and told Oberon what he had done, and Oberon soon realized that his sprite had made a mistake. So he set about looking for Demetrius, and when he found him, he put some of the juice on his eyes. However, the first thing Demetrius saw when he woke was also Helena. Now Demetrius and Lysander were both in love with Helena, following her through the wood. It was Hermia's turn to follow her lover as Helena had done before. When the four young lovers all gathered in one place, Helena and Hermia began to quarrel, and Demetrius and Lysander went off to fight. Oberon was very sorry to see that his kind scheme to help these lovers had turned out to be a mess. "These two young men are going to fight," Oberon said to Puck. "You must overhang the night with drooping fog, and lead them away from each other. When they become tired, they will fall asleep. Then rub this herb on Lysander's eyes. It will give him his old sight and his old love back. Then each man will have the lady who loves him, and they will all think that the whole thing was only a midsummer night's dream." So Puck went and did as he was told. When the two men had fallen asleep without meeting each other, he rubbed the herb on Lysander's eyes. Meanwhile, Oberon found Titania asleep on a bank where she always liked to sleep. Oberon stooped over her and poured the juice from the flower on her eyes. Now, it so happened that when Titania woke the first thing she saw was a foolish clown. He was one of a party of players who had come out into the wood to rehearse their play. This clown had met with Puck, who had put a donkey's head on his shoulders so that it looked as if it grew there. As soon as Titania woke and saw this dreadful monster, she said, "What angel is this? Are you as wise as you are beautiful?" "I wish I were wise enough to find my way out of this wood," said the foolish clown. "Don't leave the wood," said Titania. "I love you. Come with me, and I will give you fairies who will serve you." So she called 4 fairies, whose names were Peace Blossom, Cobweb, Moth, and Mustard Seed. "You must serve this gentleman," said the queen. "Feed him with all the delicacies the wood has to offer." The 4 fairies went to do as they were told. "Now sit down with me, and let me stroke your dear cheeks," said the queen to the clown. "Let me kiss your beautiful, large ears, my gentle joy." "Where's Peace Blossom?" asked the clown with the donkey's head. He did not care much about the queen, but he was very proud of having his own fairies. "Here," said Peace Blossom. "Come and scratch my head, Peace Blossom," said the clown. "Where's Cobweb?" "Here," said Cobweb. "Kill that red bumblebee on the top of the thistle over there, and bring me the honey bag," said the clown. "Where's Mustard Seed?" "Here," said Mustard Seed. "Come here and help Cobweb scratch my head," the clown said. "Would you like anything to eat?" asked the fairy queen. "I would like some good dry oats," said the clown. His donkey's head made him desire donkey's food, and some hay as well. Then a handful or 2 of good dried peas would be good. "But don't let any of your people disturb me. I am going to sleep now. Then I shall hold you in my arms," said the queen. When Oberon passed by, he saw his beautiful queen, showering the clown with kisses, and whispering endearments to a clown with a donkey's head. He reproached her with having given her favors upon a donkey. Titania could not deny this, because the clown then was sleeping within her arms. Before releasing her from the enchantment, Oberon persuaded his queen to give him the little Indian boy he so much desired to have. She did not dare to refuse him. Then he took pity on her, and rubbed the disenchanting herb on her pretty eyes. Immediately she saw the donkey-headed clown she had loved and knew how foolish she had been. Oberon took off the donkey's head from the clown, and left him sleeping with his own silly head. Oberon related to his queen the history of the lovers and their midnight quarrels. She agreed to go with him and see the end of their adventures. Oberon and Titania found the four youths sleeping on a grass plot. Puck, to make amends for his mistake, had managed to bring them all to the same spot, unknown to one another. He carefully poured the antidote that Oberon had given him on the eyes of Lysander. Hermia first awoke and found her lost Lysander asleep so near her. She looked at him and wondered at his strange inconstancy. Lysander opened his eyes and saw his dear Hermia. He recovered his love for her. They began to talk over the adventures of the night, doubting if these things had really happened, or if both of them had been dreaming the same bewildering dream. Helena and Demetrius were by this time awake, a sweet sleep having quieted Helena's disturbed and angry spirits. She listened with delight to the professions of love which Demetrius still made for her. These fair night-wandering ladies, now no longer rivals, became once more true friends. They prepared to return to Athens, when they were surprised with the sight of Hermia's father, who came to the wood in pursuit of his runaway daughter. When he understood that Demetrius would not now marry his daughter, Hermia's father no longer opposed her marriage with Lysander. He gave his consent that they should be wedded on the day on which Hermia had been condemned to lose her life. Helena also agreed to marry her beloved Demetrius on the same day. Oberon and Titania saw the happy ending of the lovers' history, and received so much pleasure. They decided to celebrate the approaching wedding with sports and revels throughout their fairy kingdom. Now, if any one of you is offended with this story of fairies and their pranks, as thinking it incredible and strange, please think that you have been asleep and dreaming. I hope none of you will be offended with a pretty harmless Midsummer Night's Dream. Have a nice day.